You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Joining me now is Attorney Jay Martin, former state representative, and he is a candidate for Chief Justice of the Arkansas Supreme Court, one of four.
That's right.
Congratulations for getting in that race, and thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Roby, for having me today. I'm honored to be a candidate and honored to be here with you today.
You got your pin on there and everything. You're
trying to look
super official. Yeah,
yes,
no,
sir.
It's looking good. For everybody who does not know, we have had the other three Chief Justice candidates on. That is why we have invited Jay to be on here. He was the last one to declare that he was running. Right. But you're in. Tell me why you are running for this position.
Well, Roby, I am practiced law 27 years. I've led my law firm since 2006 as a managing partner, and I enjoy that. I'm also a volunteer pastor in the inner city, and I have a family, a wife, kids, things I love. But I'm concerned about our country. I'm concerned about our state. I'm really concerned about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and I think the Chief Justice is a perfect role to represent the Arkansas judicial branch, and I want to represent the judicial branch well. I know it's an appellate position, but it's a leadership position, and I want to provide strong leadership in that position.
Obviously, Chief Justice Kemp is leaving. He's not seeking re-election. That's why there's an open seat here. I mean, do you feel like there has been some leadership problems that need to be addressed, or do you think there's leadership problems with the other candidates that you'll be running against?
Well, sir, what I think, of course, our current Chief Justice, John Dan Kemp, was an outsider to the court. And he came on the court as Chief Justice, having not been on the court, and I think he has done a good job. And he's retiring, and I want to come in very much like he did as an outsider to the court. I've never tried to be a career justice on the court. I think we need an outsider, just as Justice Kemp has been, because I think that's important for the court, the new blood, hopefully in a new direction, and to do things that would be helpful and beneficial to the people of Arkansas.
You touched on a little bit in the first answer to your question, but explain some of your legal background and why you think you are qualified to be the Chief Justice and to see these things at the appellate level.
Certainly. I have been an attorney, as I said, for many years, and I have handled cases in a wide variety of different laws and different legal matters. And in a lot of our courts, not only in appellate courts, the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals and our Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, and in a lot of trial courts all over our state. So representing clients and dealing with substantive areas of the law, that's what judges do every day. That's what appellate judges do, is they're interpreting statutes, they're looking at the Constitution, and they're dealing with substantive law. So I have so much experience with substantive law. But I think what really sets me apart is being an outsider. I think the fact that I've been an attorney, I run a small business, which is what my law firm is. I've been in the community as a volunteer pastor in the inner city here in Little Rock. It's given me a unique perspective to lead and to help lead the court. And so that's why I'm running, and what I think really has prepared me for this moment.
I don't have to tell you, you'll know this from your research and your knowledge, but the Chief Justice is also an administrator. I mean, you're basically the administrator of all the courts in the state of Arkansas, not just the Supreme Court. What do you think your background has that has prepared you for that? Do you have any ideas for changing some of that? There have been some ideas floated from some other candidates.
Absolutely. I think it's important that that role is given to the Chief Justice. We need a point person for all of our courts. I'm concerned about access to courts. More and more people are representing themselves. I'm concerned about the pro bono hours that attorneys provide. I think Arkansas could lead the country in providing those hours. I'm concerned about our rural courts. I want to lead the way in hopefully making all of our courts in every county safe. I've served on the board of Teen Challenge USA International, which is a faith-based drug recovery program that's international. And I've saw up close and personal the drug problem. I think drugs and alcohol addiction are really impacting our courts. Mental health is really impacting our courts. I have a lot of background in that area, having worked in the community, and I think the Chief Justice is going to have to change our courts so that we can have more specialty courts, we can have more courts that deal with these issues, I think, that are really crowding the dockets.
What else do you see in terms of safety? Because my first trigger on that is that you're talking about, personal safety, the potential for violence to occur at a court. Is that what you're referencing?
That is exactly what I'm referencing.
Yeah. What can the Chief Justice do change that?
The Chief Justice can work with the legislature and go advocate for our courts. A lot of our rural courts and courthouses do not have adequate supervision, protection for the courts. They don't even have bailiffs sometimes. And they certainly don't have law clerks and some of if you get into the substantive areas. But we're just talking about safety right now, which is really a minimum. We've got to have an advocate to make sure that all 75 counties have a courthouse that's safe, so that when people go to the court, the judges, whether it's the circuit clerk, the treasurer, whoever it may be, the people in that courthouse is safe. And so I think that has to be addressed.
You also mentioned too that you think a lot of people are going to court more people are going to court now than used to without legal representation. They are representing themselves. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't think that's a good thing. I think obviously it's very hard even for attorneys sometimes to navigate all of the different rules and the courts and where you have to file and what you have to do. So, and I know from talking to friends who are judges that is an increasing problem, particularly at the circuit court level. Mm-hmm. District court's a little different, where you obviously expect people maybe to represent themselves, but
because they deal more with misdemeanors and the
traffic and those kinds of things.
The other courts deal more with felonies and
and domestic
charges,
and you know, so you have people increasingly in domestic cases representing themselves. So it's really. So I think that really we have to have working groups. As the Chief Justice, I'll be active in each congressional district. I'll be working with the district court judges, the circuit court judges, court personnel, hopefully with the other branches of government, so that we can find solutions to these problems. I don't know, I certainly never say I have all the answers, but I'm certainly the kind of guy that brings people together to find them.
And you said you like to listen, so you
I
can do a lot of that.
Yes.
Tell me why you think you're more qualified than any of the 3 sitting Supreme Court justices, who I would think would have a lot of experience in running the court as Chief Justice because they've been on the Arkansas Supreme Court.
Well, they have a lot of experience as an appellate judge, and they have certainly experience I don't have in that position, but none of them have served as Chief Justice. I don't know that any of them have ever been an administrator. I think one of them may have been a prosecutor in the past, but I've led a small business. I've made payroll every month. I have had employees. So I have the administrative abilities to lead as Chief Justice and the legal background that helps me be a good appellate judge. I just think I'm probably, and as far as leadership, I think that's what distinguishes me from the others. And being that outsider who's been in the community and coming onto the court, you know, I didn't start out wanting to be on the Supreme Court, but I've gotten in this race because I think that we're at a critical mass here. And I think that if we don't work and defend our Constitution, the way of life that we have will be compromised.
Define that concern of yours a little
Absolutely.
bit more. I'm interested in what you're seeing that you think is threat to the Constitution.
Absolutely. I think we've heard.
Is this at the national level or at the state level?
Well, and you know, as Supreme Court, we deal with the federal Constitution, you know, as well as the state Constitution. So, you know, I'm concerned, if you just look in Arkansas, and I've said this, the executive branch has courts, and instead of the judicial branch, and so they're executive branch judges and executive branch prosecutors, and regular people are going into those courts. I have a problem with that if you just look at our state system. But on the federal system, I've heard there's hearings on Capitol Hill right now where Catholics have been investigated because of their belief. I'm concerned about religious liberty. I'm concerned about the First Amendment to the federal Constitution. So I think sitting as Chief Justice, we're going to have to look at every statute in the state, and we're going to have to make sure that they don't violate the state or federal Constitution, and we're going to have to make sure that we have an outsider who is making sure that it's functioning in a constitutional manner.
Well, I know you'll be traveling the state a lot.
Yes, sir.
Meeting with local bar associations, as well as just every gathering where there's people there,
yes, sir.
Republicans, Democrats, or civic clubs, whatever
That's
it is.
right.
Be safe on the campaign trail.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to say, Roby, one more thing. I have an attorney's mind and a pastor or servant's heart, and I really do think the next leader needs to be a servant leader who can lead folks.
Jay Martin, thank you so much for being here.
Roby, thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Appreciate you.
All right. We're back with more right after this.